Hello and welcome. My name is Chris Cam with Mining Journal, and with me I have Victor Drozdov, Business Communications and Investor Relations Director with gold major Polyus. This is part of our Digging for Climate Change program, and we're going to be looking specifically at corporate climate policy and the role in contemporary financing solutions. Hi, Victor.
Hi, Chris. Thanks a lot for giving me such an opportunity to talk on this one. I'd say extremely hot topic.
Our pleasure. Climate agenda and its role in the corporate strategy, as you say, it's a hot topic at the moment, and then communicating that to investors. From our experience with what we hear, it's not necessarily that straightforward. How do you, with that function for Polyus, how have you found that process feeding back to investors in terms of what your policy is and how you're addressing this challenge?
Sure. Look, by the end of the day, it's all about the level of disclosure which the company provides to the market. Because in order to make sure that investors, in particular, and all the other potential stakeholders are comfortable enough, the company should strive for as detailed, as rich disclosure as possible, and that pertains not only to the sustainability report, which company publishes on an annual basis only, and also it's also about all the other marketing instruments like corporate presentations with and now we have many companies incorporating quite a number of pages covering different aspects of ESG agenda, including climate change topic in particular. On top of that, we are talking about very proactive engagement and very proactive engagement with a direct engagement with investors. Like in our case, we send out quite a number of research products which we produce on the matter, covering different aspects of ESG and climate change topic in particular, providing investors with data on the let's say on permafrost or on the emission levels, and comparing those not only within our own peer group of gold producers, but also for the mining industry in general. And in that way, we effectively provoke some additional interest from investors, and kind of trying to make sure that they come back to us with their own questions. Because for sure, investors, they tend to use data provided by all the key prominent ESG ranking agencies, that's for sure. But that's only the very beginning of their analysis, and that's when the company should come forward and bring some additional info, answer those questions, and not only answer those questions, but to raise some new questions to make sure that people understand them really well. Plus,
Sorry, Victor. Is it so? It's more a case of corporates actually needing to show some leadership in terms of what's important and what should be prioritized from a climate perspective, rather than sitting back and waiting for investors to ask questions.
Of course, absolutely agree. And it's about, it's about building some sort of track record, not only of discussions on the topic, but actually showing some, showing some actual steps. Once again, it's clearly easier for me to provide you with Polyus-related examples. So like this year, we've decided to switch our electricity demand from non-renewable to renewable sources of power, and that's what we've intensively communicated to the market. Another example will be us having a very kind of engaging heavily in the development of the new one version of global tailings storage facilities guidance. And so all of those steps, all of those actual steps, they help you to build some sort of credibility. So clearly it's not only about talking the talk.
Sure. How has it changed? My impression that I get is that it's moved really quickly, that what investors were asking, the questions investors were asking, and how proactive the kind of approach that you're talking about at Polyus is a fairly new thing. It's changed a lot in terms of how you deal with investors over the past even 24 months.
I would clearly agree with you on this one, and I'd say that the key reason for that is that ESG becomes some sort of a new normality for investors to incorporate ESG factor into the investment decision making process, and that's great. It might have been triggered by the spread of the virus, but I truly believe that that was quite a natural step forward in the development of the financial markets.
Okay. And what about actual communication with investors? What do they respond to? Well, is there an issue with the fact that around a fairly new framework broadly in that basket of ESG, there aren't really standard metrics that all companies are reporting in the same way? Is that a problem?
For sure, but that's not only a problem for investors, that's a problem for corporates as well, because there right now you do have that many ESG information, ESG data providers and those guys from time to time they ask the same question. In the meantime, they ask you to provide it in different format, which might be counterintuitive, and which definitely is not helping investors as well, because you need to have proper and precise information rather than tons of information you cannot compare. Yeah, so for that reason, I'm pretty sure that the ESG ratings, ESG ranking industry will be consolidating at some point, which will effectively help investors as well. Yeah, but in the meantime, on answering your first question on what investors care about a lot when it comes to ESG related communications, that's of course that's the level of engagement of the top management team. In order to understand whether those things that the company say and the company those steps the company take actually those steps being kind of triggered or being proactively managed by the key decision makers.
So investors, obviously, you need to do a lot of work dealing with that group in terms of financing, looking more broadly in terms of debt, etc. Green financing is a trend that we're seeing on the rise, even if that's the right term, sustainable financing. What's the policy at the moment for Polyus in terms of looking at the financing options that are available and probably opportunity to link some of the sustainability initiatives to your financing solutions?
Frankly speaking, there are going to be several parts within my answer. So the first one is that we are currently progressing really well with the development of our first one, climate strategy, which we plan to publish in first half next year. There are several areas we're currently working on, several methodologies we're developing internally, which will definitely help us not only to properly set certain targets in terms of the CO2 emissions reductions, which are clearly not that high even right now, and especially after us switching to renewables as well. But still, that will help us to set some certain targets, to come up with a very specific set of steps to take to get to those targets, which eventually will provide us with an option to start using, to start potentially using more proactively sustainability-linked financing instruments. That's the first part of my answer. The second part will be is that in our day-to-day activities, we do not divide climate strategy or ESG strategy from the corporate strategy. So for that reason, I don't actually think that we should be considering ESG financing being some sort of a separate option for us. I'd say that that any type of financing should be considered as one of the options for us to source to sponsor our activities on the ESG front. Look, the very good example will be like in our case, the construction of power grids, which we've been heavily involved into over the course of the last 5 years. So those power grids, and we've spent more than $300 million to build those power grids. They've effectively enabled us to switch to renewable energy and to start consuming electricity from local hydropower plants. For that reason, me personally, I sincerely consider those investments being ESG-linked investments. Yeah. So that's the second part. And the third part is that in general, ESG-linked financing, sustainability-linked financing, might be considered as some sort of a proper trigger for those companies not that willing to set some targets in front of for themselves, and to start be more responsible. The only problem is that in order for them to start acting that way, there should be some sort of a visible economic benefit when it comes to ESG-linked financing, which we don't see at the moment.
Okay.
So for that reason, those companies who act really well on the ESG front, they do not actually need such a trigger, like specifically ESG dedicated financing. While in case some other companies which should be more proactive, and they are not probably able to grasp the benefits of ESG financing at the moment. So there is some sort of a leap.
Okay, Victor Drozdov, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris.